Whoa, hold on, guys. I'm here, I promise. Hey, guys, welcome to She Knows Arsenal. My name is Jessica. I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter at, let me get it up here, Jessinho Tweets right here, and at She Knows Arsenal. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Saturday. We're doing a match preview today, guys. Match preview for our game on Monday against Crystal Palace away from home. What a big game. What a big game that is. I mean, I guess where we will start is the Premier League is back. And I am nervous. Like, I'm very, very nervous because it felt nice just being in fourth, you know what I mean, for like 2 weeks. And knowing nobody could like take your spot or whatever, and I'm not screaming at the TV at our team and being so worried and having like my stomach hurting. It felt good, but we have 10 games left, and the Premier League is back, and it really was back today, wasn't it? I mean, between the Chelsea result and the Manchester United result, it's just leaving the possibilities just open. And I love that. And I think that it's Matt G in the comments was saying, I was reading it before I came on, that those results are not really funny unless we win our game on Monday. And I kind of agree with that as well, because there's going to be, I mean, depending on what happens in the Spurs match, I mean, that's going to give us a really good opportunity to take advantage of. And I think as of late, we have been taking advantage of some of these situations where, our rivals or whatever have dropped points. But this is really where it gets serious, because we're in the home stretch now, 10 games. I mean, and the season is done. So there's really not a lot of wiggle room here for Arsenal. And so I think that with Man United dropping points and with Chelsea dropping points, and hopefully, I hope that Spurs drop points. I don't think they will, but if they do, we have got to take control of the situation and beat Crystal Palace. I mean, we have to beat them no matter what, but it becomes even more serious because these next 3 games that we have coming up, let me check them again, because I think they're all pretty like winnable, but then at the same time, they're not easy. And as we've seen with Chelsea, with Man United, no game is easy. It's not a foregone conclusion that just because this team is below you and they're a mid-table team that you're just going to walk all over them. So we really can't take our put our guard down here. So we have Crystal Palace, Brighton, and Southampton. So yeah, those games come before that Chelsea and Man United, West Ham like straight of games. So if we could get 3 points, or if we could, well, let's see, if we were to win, we'd be 6 points ahead of Man United. And even if Spurs were to win their game, that would keep us 3 points ahead of them with a game in hand. I believe we have 2 games in hand over Man United and 1 over Spurs, I think. So this could help us potentially, increase the gap. And so that's super important right now. But I don't know, you guys. I'm so nervous. I really am, because Crystal Palace is a difficult team to play, and going away from home is not going to be easy. So even though I do think they're going to have some key players missing, like Zaha looks like he's not going to be there. They still have players that will hurt you, and watching them play against Everton, and let's just be real, like Everton is not a great team right now. But on their day, if they get a little bit of confidence and wind in their sails, they can be super, super difficult to play against. And I think Patrick Vieira is going to be looking for a little bit of revenge. The look on his face at the end of that game at the Emirates just was like, oh, so you really were trying to show us something, And if I was Patrick Vieira, that's what I would be doing. Not only because I just want to win and show that I'm a good coach, but don't think for a second there's not something deep down that's like, maybe I should have gotten that job, So there's going to be, and Patrick Vieira is so freaking competitive. So there's going to be an element of, we should have beat you guys earlier on in the season, and we're going to come out and try to beat you now. We were a different team back then, though. When we played Crystal Palace the first time around, if you guys remember, it was more like it was that Arsenal that would score the goal, because I remember, I think Aubameyang scored early, and then sit back. And we haven't really been that team for a while. Since December, we've really been the team that would go out and put the impetus like out there, like show the team whether we're home or away that we're taking control of the situation. And we're going to get a goal, but we're going to go after another one and another one and another one. So hopefully that is the Arsenal that shows up on Monday. That is the Arsenal that needs to show up, because Crystal Palace, even without Zaha, and I think there's something also with Elise. Um, if he's out, then I'm really feeling confident. But let's just say Elise is there. Elise, that guy Mateta, that Mateta guy, like, he didn't look good at first to me, but like he's actually a tricky center forward to deal with. And then they also have Eze, Conor Gallagher. And Conor Gallagher was really running the midfield against us the first time around. I don't think our midfield had a great game that time, the time that we played them at the Emirates. So it's going to be a tough game. But what gives me some confidence is the fact that, like, even when these games look really difficult on paper, when the team starts playing, you realize that, oh yeah, we are good. We are like a top 4 team. So in order for that team to win, they have to be really, really good. And a lot of what we do early on in matches is just take the wind out of their sails, just kind of take them right out of the game, and we don't let them really grow into them anymore. So yeah, we'll definitely see what we have going on for tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, on Monday. Lucas says, who are you rooting for, Jess? England versus USA in the World Cup? Obviously the US, like 100%. What I loved about the draw is it brought out that, like, what the World Cup is really about. Like, you get that level of like tribalism and patriotism, and everybody's like talking smack already. And like, I'm just going to be real. Like, I do think that obviously England are going to get out of that group probably easily. And we'll struggle to get out of the group. But until that moment happens, I'm talking shit. Like, I am 100% talking shit, because it's just fun. It's fun. And so I'm super excited about the World Cup. When the US is, the US sometimes is in the World Cup and sometimes is not. But most of the time I follow them and just hope that they do a good job. But I'm a big Brazil fan. You guys know that. So that will be who I'm rooting for if and when the United States go out of the competition. So there you go. But England, like, as much as I want Ramsdale and Saka and whoever else makes the team, if it's Smith Rowe and Ben White, as much as I want them to do well, when I'm watching them play against the US, I'm going to be rooting against them. Sorry. I know Elliot from Arsenal Vision was like, I cannot root against Bukayo Saka. I can, like, just for that one game. Like, and because I like the US men's national team as well. I like the players that are there. Tyler Adams, McKinney, Gio Reyna, Tim Weah. Like, I do like our team. So I'm going to be rooting against England. Sorry. Hate to break it to you. Let's see. Don 1 says England 4, Yanks 0. I mean, the reality is that we probably won't be very good, but it's fine. Yanni Kisi says Wolves, West Ham, Villa, Leicester. What is Palace? I guess you mean like in terms of like what would be difficult about them. I just think every game, not every team is good, but every team is dangerous. Does that make sense? So you don't have to be particularly good to be dangerous. So I don't think Crystal Palace are like a really good team. I think Patrick Vieira has coached them well and has gotten them playing to the best of their ability, but they're not better than us, but they are dangerous. They have players that can hurt us, just like West Ham has players that could hurt us, just like Wolves had players that hurt us, just like Villa has players that could hurt us, and Leicester as well. So we have to be very, very careful on Monday. And the 3 points will be super, super big for us. Let's see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Craig said, beat Palace and beat Chelsea and go third. That's my plan. I mean, and we do have to look up at the third place position. If we win our game, we'll be within 2 points of Chelsea, and that makes the game against them really, really significant. So I do think we have to look above us instead of below us, but not get carried away. I think Mikhail said it best, that they are shooting for Champions League, but they have to remain humble. And I think the fan base also needs to do that, because I do think that to a certain extent, like, we should be confident and we should be excited, but we're not there yet. Like, we haven't secured Champions League, and even though we like statistically it looks like we're going to do it, the odds say we're going to do it. All it takes is a couple of bad results, and we're sitting there like, damn, So I do think we need to just hold our horses a little bit. S says we still sit back a lot, but not as much. Fair enough. Happily Egg says it will be a tough game, but you've got enough in the bag to take the points. Your defense is solid, so I can't see you lose. Benteke is crap. I don't think we'll lose. I do think I see a win or a draw, depending on how the team comes out. Don One says 2-0. I'm confident. Stuart said it's all about the 3 points now. You guys let me know in the chat box, or in the chat box, who you guys are supporting in the World Cup. Did your team make it, or did they not? Craig says Martinelli will go big in the World Cup. If he plays, he's going to be so good. And Brazil is looking a lot better. I would be surprised if he didn't make the team. He's so good. Zich says Matt Turner. Yeah, obviously, like Matt Turner. He came out earlier today and was talking about how he has an injury, and that's what's kept him. He has like a bone fracture, and that's what's kept him out over the last couple of weeks with the U.S. men's national team. But watching Zach Steffen, who's Manchester City's number 2, against Costa Rica, I'll give him a pass, because it was a game that all we had to do is not lose 6-0 and we would have went through. But Matt Turner is the number 1 goalkeeper for the U.S. Zach Steffen just didn't fill me with a lot of confidence. He was really just kind of shit against Costa Rica. Matt Turner will probably be the number 1 goalkeeper facing some of our players. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Tony says the U.S. is not good U.S., not the lovable underdogs, actually good U.S. Is that us? Okay. The us is not good us, not the lovable underdogs, actually good us. Okay. I feel like I understand what that means. Amira says the Arsenal goalkeeper derby going to be exciting to watch. Wouldn't that be funny if it was Ramsdale on one end and Matt Turner on the other? Crazy. Our number 1, our number 2, sick. So funny. Z Gold says Palace at home is not easy. Ask Liverpool and Man City. Hi Jess, we were crap today. Do you think you can beat Palace at Selhurst Park? Yeah, I think we can beat them at Selhurst Park. But again, I don't see any Arsenal fans saying it's easy. I think there's confidence that we can beat them, but there's a difference between oh, for sure we're going to beat them, and being confident that we can. I do think we can, if we are, like Mikhail said, if we're humble and we do what we're supposed to do and don't come out there like we did against Watford. Now, if you come out like you did against Watford, and play like that, yeah, Crystal Palace are going to beat you. Crystal Palace are a much better team than Watford, and they scored 2 goals on us because we were good offensively, but just so bad defensively. So I do think we can. Man United were not good today. This is true. But I won't sit here and start laughing unless we win. I have to be honest. It just feels like inside, of course, I'm like, ha ha ha. But I'm not going to be out there like, oh my gosh, look how shit they were, because we could come out and be shit. You never know. S says if we beat Palace, we'll be 7 points clear of United with the game in hand. Okay, you guys are better at math than me. I don't know. Seawalder says, I'm not really confident of 4th, but hopeful. Cool. High Text J says USA, Brazil, and England. Cool. Arsenal Granny says the USA. Zich says your take on Wolves celebrating winning against Aston Villa. It's really celebrating. They had I think a really difficult game right before we went on break, where they played against Leeds, and Leeds came back to beat them with 10 men. And so I think that was a hard game for them. I'm sure that what's that guy's name? What's their striker's name, you guys? Jimenez was out because I think he got the red card, and also Ruben Neves was out because he has like a very bad injury. So yeah, when you go through a difficult time and you lose your last game, a game that you were comfortably winning, and you lost some of your best players, and then you turn around and beat a team that can hurt you, you are entitled to celebrate. The hard part about it is that whenever we celebrate, it's looked at as some serious crime. And oh my gosh, they're just over celebrating. I would expect anybody that wins a game, especially after going through a difficult game, just the last game that you had, would be celebrating. It is what it is. If you don't celebrate, what's the point? But Ashley Young scoring that own goal, the winning goal, is hilarious. I love that. Blake Hernandez says this will be a good test for this young side to see how they could pounce on the teams that drop points and see if they're experienced to not do mistakes and let the pressure creep. Yeah, I mean, even if you look like at Manchester City and Liverpool, what they're doing now is what I would like to see Arsenal be able to do in the future. And that starts now, which is kind of building up that mentality where they're really pushing each other and neither team is really giving up a lot. Man City to go into the game against Burnley and score a goal within the first 5 minutes to just say like, no, we're going back up top in first place, I think just speaks to their mentality. But Liverpool equally knowing that they had the game first and going out there and putting in a pretty professional performance against Watford. I know they're supposed to beat these teams, but like, those are games that I could see if we were in those scenarios, we might slip up because we just don't have that experience yet. So this is where this team is going to learn how to build that up, is when you're in a situation and there's other teams that are getting points, dropping points, and it's a close race, can you stay, get that mindset and make sure that you perform at the top level with that pressure on you? So I do agree that this is good practice for us moving forward, but the pressure is definitely on, and I want to see if we'll break. I hope we don't. But I'm not. It's not that I think that this team is weak. I just feel like there's a lot of young players there, and so I would not be shocked if we had some difficult results. Salio says, just don't be nervous. This team has shown us enough to go into this game full of confidence. We'll wipe them out 2-0 easy. I hope so. O'Malley says, Stefan has been garbage for 3 years now. I mean, Matt Turner is clearly the number one. Like, he was not good. And he hasn't been. I think he's literally just there because he plays for Man City. Like, that's it. Like, I can't see any other thing. S says, is Matt Turner good enough to take Ramsdale's shirt? No, but he'll push him. He'll definitely push him, I think, with Matt Turner because of he doesn't have the same ability with his feet. I don't think he'll be taking Ramsdale's spot, but he can push him. And I wouldn't be scared if he came in and played. I'll say that. You guys are funny. Z Gould says, I'm from the US Jess, so that's why I support your channel so much, even though I'm a United fan, love your content. Thank you so much, Z. I really appreciate that. I cannot wait to see like Arsenal US Twitter versus Arsenal England Twitter, like during the World Cup. I can't wait. It's going to be so fun. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So in terms of availability, like I think the big one for them is Zaha. I almost called him Louis Saha. You guys remember Saha? Like I almost called him that. Wilfred Zaha is out. And so that I think is a good thing. But like we already kind of said, they have good weapons anyway. So it doesn't really matter. I don't think that much. If they're missing Olise, which they said that he could be out, now that is a big miss for them because I think but beyond Conor Gallagher, he's probably their best player. So there you go. But in terms of Arsenal, Tomiyasu is back in contention. Bukayo Saka is back from COVID and will be able to play, and Ramsdale is still out. So we will be seeing Burn Leno again, and I do think that that presents a a roadblock, or not really a roadblock, but it presents a maybe a little bit of a weakness. And that's not to say that Burn Leno didn't play well against Aston Villa. I think he did. What we've always known about him is he's a great shot stopper. Um, but the distribution wasn't great against Aston Villa, and that's kind of his thing. Is like he's just not really that good with the ball at his feet. So I think that we will suffer a little bit from like just what Ramsdale gives us in terms of the range of passing from the back. I just I feel like we're going to miss that quite a bit in this game. We can overcome it, but it will hurt us a little bit. So knowing that, I think our back line has to be very aware and make sure that we're making the right decisions back there. Because one thing about Leno is he likes to go short or long. Doesn't have any intermediate passes. He doesn't have the ability to clip it out wide to a fullback or to hit it like right on the toe of Martinelli or Bukayo Saka. So it's going to limit our ability playing out of the back. It's going to either be hoof it long, and we know when we hoof it long without really any sort of plan there, it becomes a little bit predictable and redundant. But then when we play out of the back and do those little passes, that's where I think Leno really struggles to make the right decisions. So not having Ramsdale, I think, does make us weaker, but not so weak that we can't win. There's only a couple of players where if they're out, I think we can't win this game. Ramsdale is not one of them because Leno is a good goalkeeper. With Tomiyasu, the club is still being really careful with him, and I think they should be, because if he gets another injury, that's it for the season. And so we do need to, I think, ease him in. Cedric has played well. But I wonder who's going to be on that left-hand side. If it's not Zaha, I do feel a little bit more confident that he won't get chefed up like he has been over the last couple of games. Like they definitely look to isolate him against their trickier, fast players. We saw that against with Harvey Barnes. We saw it with the numerous Liverpool players that were down on that side. And so I do see that being, again, a little bit of a weakness because Cedric is not as good as Tomiyasu defensively. But ultimately, if it's not Zaha, I'm wondering who they're going to put on that side. I wonder if they'll go to like some sort of 4-4-2 or something like that, play something a little bit different so that they can get Edouard and Mateta out there on the pitch together, or whatever. Like, I don't know what Patrick is going to do, but let me just check and see who else they have. Like, will they put Eze out wide on the left-hand side? I know he plays off of the left, but he's more of like a midfielder versus like a winger. I'm not sure if I'd be like that worried about that, if that makes sense. So let me just check and see what they have been up to lately. Lineups. So yeah, they matched up against Man City in a 4-3-3 when they played them at home. And they played Gallagher, Koyate, and Schlupp in midfield with Elisa off the right, Mateta through the middle, and Zaha on the left. So easily what they could do is just put Eze in Zaha's position, which might just be what they do with Mitchell as their left back and Gui, Mike Gui. I don't know. I'm so bad at these names. Anderson and whoever they decide to play as a right back. I see Nathaniel Klein here. If they play Nathaniel Klein, I know he has a lot of experience, but that's a weak point for them. I would expect Martinelli to kill him the entire game, even though Conor Gallagher is on that side. So it feels like their strong side is their right side, and their left side might be a little bit weaker. The side with Gallagher and Olise will be stronger. And so Tierney and whoever's on that side are going to have to be really aware of it. But let me see who else they have. Basically, I mean, Ayew, he's so bad. Um, and they haven't really been playing Hudson Edouard that much. Like Vieira's guy literally is Mateta, and I see why because Mateta is a chaos merchant. He's somebody that his long legs and he's all legs and he can run in behind and get in and stuck in with the central defenders. So that will be Ben White and Gabrielle's job. But I do kind of see them just going ahead and putting Eze as the left winger. So I can easily see Eze, Mateta, and Olise as their front three. That's still a really strong front three. Not as strong as it would be with Zaha, but still very strong. And that's what I would expect to see. Now from us, I'm not sure. I don't think I would risk Tamiyasu. I think I just want him to be, but how does he get to 100% if we don't play him? I think that's another part of it as well. Is like there's no real easy games coming up where you're like, yeah, you can ease him in against Norwich at home. We don't have any more of those left. So if we want him to come back in and be ready for Chelsea and Man United and West Ham, doesn't he have to start playing now? What do you guys think about that? Is this the game that you would go ahead and start to reintegrate Tamiyasu back into the team? Let me see. Yeah, you just have Crystal Palace. You have Brighton at home. That might be an easier game to let him play before Southampton. But Crystal Palace is such an important game now, especially because Manchester United dropped points. I mean, if Spurs drop points, we have to win the game no matter what. But I just feel like Cedric has been doing a good enough job, and I'm afraid to almost disrupt it now with a Tamiyasu coming back off of injury. But what do you guys think? Let's see. S says they'll probably play one of their strikers and left winger Eze. Tawanda says Cedric is doing his job at right back, but I really miss Tamiyasu. I do as well. I just don't know, like, if this is the game. Lionide says Zaha, Olise, and Gallagher biggest threats. Yeah, they are the biggest threats. I'm glad Zaha's not going to be playing. I mean, he's just somebody that I don't like. Period. Lionide says Tommy will get some minutes at the end of the game. Yeah, I mean, if we're up a couple of goals, but even when have we really seen Arteta do that? You know what I mean? Give a player that's been injured for a while some minutes at the end of a game because the issue with us is that we never give ourselves enough of a cushion in order to do that. I would have loved to see Tavares get some more minutes and even Lakanga in some of our games, but because we've been only winning by a 1 goal margin, it's been difficult to give people minutes and change things up. We've usually kind of been like, okay, let's batten down the hatches and just get out of here. So I think with Tamiyasu, he could start on the bench, but he could never come on because if we're only up 1-0 or 2-1, I just don't see Arteta risking it, especially away from home. Happily Egg says it depends on the score. If you're 3 goals up, you can bring Tamiyasu on. And I just don't envision us being 3 goals up. I just don't see it. High Tech J says I would put Tommy on the bench. Cedric is in great form. He's back in the Portugal team and he provides different options in attack. I'd start Cedric till the end of the season. Wow. Wayne Francis says nope, I'd put him on the bench. Tamiyasu. Tamiyasu can play 10 minutes for a starter. S says Tamiyasu is not playable. If he's not fully fit, he'll get cooked like he did against Liverpool. And that's kind of the vision that I have in my mind right now is seeing him, but he was still injured at that time as well. Like we learned after that he was probably like 70% fit, and you can't be like that against Liverpool. So it depends on if he's like just needs some match sharpness, but I'm almost looking at that Brighton game at home. Like Brighton are in terrible form. So Brighton at home might be a better game to bring him in instead of Crystal Palace away. I think that would be smarter. DMC Harper says, hi, Jess, or Jessica, Tommy off the bench would, for me, ease him in. Yeah, I feel like, and most of us are saying like the same thing, S says facts. We go 1 or 2-0 up, then put Holding to play a low block. It's just, we're never really up with that amount of goals. And I think that has to do with us not being particularly clinical, in those moments. We create enough chances most games, but like We know what moments we're talking about. I don't really want to crap on Lacazette today, but some of it has to do, I think, with his decision making sometimes. So, yeah, maybe Tamiyasu off of the bench. Now, Bukayo Saka being back from COVID, I think 100% means that he starts. I don't see a scenario where Pepe starts. I think Saka um, will start, and I'm glad that he's back. So it's one of those where we're so solidified in our starting 11 that it's no real surprises. Like, we're not really like other teams where it's like you can kind of move pieces around. We know it's going to be probably Cedric, Ben White, Gabrielle, Tierney, um, Thomas Party, Granit Xhaka, Odegaard, who looked really good for Norway. It's really unfortunate that they're not going to the World Cup. Holland and Odegaard not in the World Cup is going to be is really sad for them. Two really good players not going. Thomas Party obviously played for Ghana and they got through to the World Cup, so good for them. So Thomas Party will play, and Granit Xhaka, who did his thing for Switzerland, will play. And then you have Lacazette, who will 100% play. And then you have the question around Smith Rowe or Martinelli. But the way Martinelli was playing for Brazil, I just think you have to keep him in there. I still think it's close. And S, don't kill me. Like, I know you love Smith Rowe, but I don't really see a scenario where Emil Smith Rowe starts over Martinelli in this game, unless Martinelli is sick or a little bit like leggy from playing for Brazil, but he didn't even play that many minutes. So I think we'll just see kind of like the same-ish team, which I'm kind of okay with, to be honest. Jermaine says, hopefully Laka's hat trick helps him find some goal scoring form. We need him to score some goals towards the end of the season. I mean, what does he have? 4 goals or something? I mean, I know we're giving him the goal against Wolves, but like technically, like he hasn't scored a goal since like in the run of play. So he did score a penalty. That was against Leicester. Look up Lacazette. I'm telling you right now, like if he would score 4 goals in the run of play, like for the rest of the season, we probably would just be fine. But his lack of goals is really keeping us from having 2-goal margins, 3-goal margins. He's just not really giving us the goals. So he has 4 goals. 4. Jesus. He needs to score. He needs to score. He doesn't like it. He does though. Like for me, like the bare minimum, he has to score 10. Last season, he had 13. He has 4 this season. He needs to score more, especially towards the back end. Like we have to be able to put daylight between us and some of these teams. We're playing too well to only be having these 1-goal margins, you know? Let's see. Blake says Leno is the weak link with his distribution and playing out of the back. Crystal Palace will press. They are not like when they were managed by Hodgson. Ramsdale set the tone at the back and defenders calm. Yeah, that's true. I mean, if Crystal Palace do decide to press us, then it could be a little bit more it could be a difficult day for the back line with not having Ramsdale and not having that quick. And I mean, sometimes Ramsdale makes mistakes, but for the most part, he knows when to send long. He knows when to pass the ball at the back. He knows how to clip the ball into fullbacks. He knows when to pass it in between the lines to Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka. So we are going to be missing that. And Crystal Palace will probably look at that as some sort of weakness. That being said, like Ben White and Gabrielle are in charge. Like they need to figure that part out, right? So they need to figure out how to compensate for Leno's lack of distribution. I still don't think that's a reason to lose the game. And a lot of times when teams press us, I think there's a statistic out there that we are one of the teams that are the least dispossessed when being pressed. So we have really turned the tide on being that team that when we're pressed just a little bit, we can't play. We've learned how to solve pressure. And so if you do press us, then you're going to leave gaps. And if you leave gaps, we're going to kill you going in the other direction. So I'm not too worried about the pressing. It's not like a Liverpool press. It's still Crystal Palace. You know what I mean? No offense to them. Let's see. Elliot Roberts says Laka needs to score, plain and simple. I mean, like, cause I get the whole like, oh, he does all the build up and all that kind of stuff, and really helps us in terms of that. But like, he really is. There's at least 3 opportunities in my mind where I feel like he should have scored, and those goals would have given us opportunities to like rest people, you know, not have to play as hard, you know. So there you go. Let's see. Z Gold says, you guys really need to upgrade on Lacazette for sure. If you're still with him by next season, big problem. He don't score enough. I don't think we will be. I think it's pretty clear that Arsenal are going to go out there and spend big on a striker. It just depends on who it is. Who is a patron of Arsenal Vision? Now that I'm thinking about this, who is a patron? Because if you are, I'm sure you saw the scouting video of Darwin Nunez and Cody Gakpo. If you did, raise your hand. And if you didn't, I'm going to tell you what happened. So what had happened is so Darwin Nunez looked really good when he was getting played in behind and playing off of the left-hand side and cutting in and creating chances that way. He's really good in open space. But what I will say is he's not good with his back to the goal, like in terms of hold up play. And there was one section that was called dialogue with midfield. So that was his link up play, his ability to play with midfield and do the things that Lacazette does. When I tell you his first touch is a tackle, and when I tell you that he does not have the ability to link up play, like if he can't do it in Portugal, he's definitely not going to be able to do it in the Premier League. It was very concerning and disappointing because he's somebody that I was starting to get really excited about. And that's why it's important. And obviously, like I don't get this information because I don't have Y Scout, but Arsenal Vision guys, they have Y Scout, and it shows you so much more than you get when you watch compilations. This guy, like if he's standing there with Odegaard trying to do a 1-2, that thing is going out of bounds. Like he's not really a particularly good passer. He doesn't have a great first touch. His ability to link play is very minimal and very disappointing. And he doesn't want to be kicked either. So to play as a back to goal striker, to do the Giroud things that I feel like we do need, because Lacazette is doing that now. He doesn't want to be kicked like Aubameyang. So he goes out wide and tries to find space. And that's not really what we need. We already have wingers that are occupying those wide spaces. We don't need another striker that really plays as a wide forward because he doesn't want his ankles kicked. So I think like just seeing that has kind of led me to feel like Nunez might not be the right answer. But that being said, Gakpo, baby. Gakpo, baby. Yes. Yes. He's perfect to play off of the left wing. I loved it. A goal scoring left winger with size and physicality and pace that will free up Martinelli to play in different positions. And if you're going to spend 60, 70, 80 million on a striker, they got to be able to do the link up play stuff as well. And Nunez just didn't have that. Like he didn't have it at all. But if you could bring in a Gakpo for 35, 40 million, it lessens the like pressure, and you can still buy another striker. So yeah, I love Cody Gakpo. I think he's so good. Obviously there's like, can he do that? You know, he's in the Eredivisie and blah, blah, blah. I get that part, but he has the ability. So if he's integrated into a team that has the right system and stuff, I think he'll be fine. So there you go. But yeah, Lacazette needs to score more goals, but we need in the summer, looking long term, we need a striker that can kind of do some of the Lacazette stuff, at least at a competent level. And Nunez wasn't even competent, you guys. I'm not even gonna lie. It was like wow. Like it was It was wow. High Tech J says next season we really won't be get pressed as often, which will take our game to another level next season. I seriously see us bringing in an extremely dominant, see us being extremely dominant next season with the right recruitment. I hear what you're saying. Like I hear what you're saying. I think we will be respected more in terms of our play. There's still some teams that try to come out and play us, and they do get in trouble. You know, we're not really the type of team that I feel like we will get more teams that sit in on us next season. And that being said as well, I don't think Nunez is best if we're going to be having teams sit in on us more. You have to have, somebody that can operate in small spaces, and he can't do that like at all. O'Malley says Lacazette's Burnley miss 0-0 draw still makes me mad. I mean, yeah, that's definitely one of them. So let's see. You guys also, because we kind of know who the starting lineup is going to be. There's only like a question over one or two players. I'm not going to bring up the lineup creator thing. I'm just going to kind of go through your guys' questions and we could just talk through it. This is like very like loose, like it's chill. We don't have to do all that because literally like we all kind of know what the lineup is going to be. I just want to know what you guys are kind of thinking in terms of like the last couple of days. We can also talk about Saliba's comments as well. Like he had another little blurb that came out the other day, and I thought it was pretty interesting what he said. It didn't sound like I'm ready to go. It really didn't sound. It didn't sound like that. S says Cody Gakpo is another Sambi Lakanga to me. He's the cheapest and most unproven forward out of all the options. I'd be underwhelmed if we go for him rather than a bigger name. I kind of hear what you're saying. So with the bigger name thing, I'm wondering if like, do we absolutely need a big name? Or do we need to bring in players that suit our system and take us to the next level? Because Sambi was brought in to be a backup. That's clear. He's a project. So I'm not sure that I'm really underwhelmed by him because, first of all, I think the talent is there, and I think we just have to be patient. I mean, people were crying for Sumare. He can't even get off the bench for Leicester. So I think when I look at the options that we could have gotten in that position as a backup, I do think Sambi is good. And he's clearly a backup. So I don't know. I feel a little bit torn about, do we need to be going out there and bringing in a big name just because like we get into Champions League or we need to make a statement, or should we continue with what we did last summer and bring in more quality? But as long as it fits our system, it doesn't really matter if it's a big name. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure that I'm convinced that we just need to be going out there getting a big name because we need to be showing people. Because the big name thing is also kind of like, okay, well, does it really fit? Because Darwin Nunez is a bigger name. He's the guy of the hour. He's the player that everybody wants. But watching him more extensively, he doesn't actually fit. Whereas when we were watching Gakpo, he would give us another option in that front line, give us some versatility in that front line, wouldn't have as much pressure with that big price tag around his neck to perform, but would give us more goals in that left wing position. That could also allow Smith Rowe to play left 8 a little bit more or off the right, or take you could take Odegaard out and put Smith Rowe there too. So it gives you more options. I'm not convinced that we just need to go out and get a big name. I'm not convinced. And there's just not a lot of players that have come into the Premier League at 50 million and above that have really done it. Like, really, that 30 to 40 million mark has been quite successful for a long time. So, yeah. Hefty says Gakpo is awesome. PSV also don't ask for a lot of money. Dumfries to Inter for like 13 million. Iartaran, I never knew how to say his name, for only about 20. Depay was only like 35. True. Blaze says, just who do you prefer to start against Palace, ESR or Martinelli? Martinelli. Yeah, I think Martinelli and Saka has been quite successful for us, and I just feel like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Even though I do think Smith Rowe played well against Aston Villa, can't get over Martinelli and the threat that he offers. Also defensively. So the right side of Crystal Palace will likely be Olise and Conor Gallagher. And I just feel like Martinelli would be better tracking back and ensuring that Conor Gallagher is just not out there in life, doing like nice little 1-2s wide with Olise. Whereas Smith Rowe, I love him, like I do, but defensively, he's less reliable, in my opinion. And his pressing is not as good as Martinelli's. So just slightly prefer ESR or Smith Rowe or Martinelli. That's what I mean, you guys. Sorry, guys. Only had like 1 cup of coffee. Let's see. Blake says Darwin Nunez can't play like Giroud because he isn't beautiful like Giroud. Fair enough. I agree. O'Malley says Holland is the only all-around striker on the market that is worth his list price. No matter who we get, bar Holland, it's going to be incomplete. Yeah, and I do agree with the fact that nobody's perfect, but if you bring in somebody for 60, 70 million, they need to at least allow you to play the game that you've been playing already, or be so good that you're willing to change your style of play in order to suit them. I don't think Darwin Nunez, the running in behind and playing off the left-hand side, is so good that we should change the way that we play to suit him. We built a system and we're playing in a certain way. The striker has to be able to link play. It doesn't have to be pretty, but at the very basic level, you should have a decent first touch and the ability to do 1-2s with your central midfielders and also find a forward pass. He can't do any of that. From what I saw in that video, I mean, if we're talking about on a scale of 1 to 10, where is he on that scale? I would say about a 3. I'm not even joking. So I'm okay with players needing time and being incomplete, but if I'm going to get an incomplete player, I don't want to play 60 to 70 million for him, especially if I'm going to have to change my game to suit him. So I think that's where somebody like maybe a Dominic Calvert-Lewin comes in, where he's not perfect, but you probably only have to pay Everton 40 million to get him, but he can play back to goal. He can hold the ball up. His link up play may not be sexy, but he can do a little bit of the link up play. So it's less of a struggle to get him. Like, you could put him literally in this team right now and you wouldn't have to change anything. And you also, by the way, get somebody who's good on defensive corners and offensive set pieces and crosses and stuff like that. Is it shiny? Is it making a statement? No. But you could get Cody Gakpo and DCL for probably the same price you're going to pay for Nunez, but you probably get more. So I'm not convinced about the big name. I'm okay with players being incomplete, but if they're incomplete, I don't want to play complete prices for them. And equally, I don't want to have to change our game. And that's what you'd have to do for Nunez. But I do agree with the sentiment behind that, O'Malley. I do. Let's see. Z Gold says, I see you guys scouting Rashford. Sure, you already discussed this, Jess, but he might do a better job than Lacazette, maybe. Yeah, the Rashford thing. Rashford is a very good player in a bad spot. Like, okay, so I think Rashford had a moment where people thought that he could get to the world-class level. I think he's kind of shown that he may not be a world-class player, but I think that there's levels in between world-class and crap. And I think he's a very good player with dangerous attributes that when used properly can be very beneficial to a team. But he's not in a good headspace, mentality-wise. He's just not there. I don't know what Man United are thinking about doing with him. So I wouldn't want to take a risk on somebody who, first of all, Man United is not going to pay, they're not going to want us to have him. And if they do sell him, he's going to cost a lot. And I feel like it's a risk. I'd rather get somebody else. Gakpo scored today as well. Bing! All in. I'm all in, baby. I'm all in. Let's see. Tony says Gakpo at a reasonable price leaves space for an elite center midfielder or striker. It does. And I don't know who that elite center striker is. I would like to see maybe Arsenal Vision do the same thing, but with Osimhen. because Osimhen was the other person that we had on the list. Remember, you guys, we did Nunez, Osimhen, and Tammy Abraham, and you guys really liked Osimhen as well. I would like to see what he looked like with his dialogue with midfield. If it's at a competent level, that might be the name that you go after if you get Champions League. But if we don't get Champions League, I don't see us going after Osimhen because he's going to cost 100 million. He's going to cost so much. So I could see, like, if we don't make Champions League, we end up with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, you know? So let's see. S says, not a big name like Lukaku. I meant big talent like Isak or Felix. I love João Felix as well. I just don't know if we're actually going to go after him. Isak is another one that wants to go out wide, similar to Darwin Nunez, because centrally he doesn't really play central like that. And from what I've seen, he kind of likes to drift out wide. But he's much better in terms of link up play and creativity than Darwin Nunez. So if you wanted to play that way, you could. But then I also worry about the goals aspect. Like, are we going to get better flicks and tricks and stuff like that? And it's going to look better to the eye, but we're still not getting the goals. That's what I wonder. But he does have kind of like that credit in the bank of him looking really good with Odegaard. So maybe we do revisit the Isak thing. But I have to be honest, his form as of lately has just not. He's failed to impress post us looking at him in January, even though I heard that he did well for Sweden. I don't know about Isak. I really don't. But yeah, I'm not sure about big name. Of course, I'd love big talent, but it just depends on how much big talent costs and if big talent actually fits. So there you go. Yeah, let's see. Liam Duncan says, I think Arteta wants DCL. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I really wouldn't be surprised. Would you guys die if we got DCL? Like, I see a lot of like, oh my gosh, DCL, but like, would you die though? Like, let me know. Tony says, this is fun. Pick one. Gakpo plus DCL or just João Felix. I love these games. I love these games, guys. Did you see Felix scored? Don't think he'll be coming in this form. Yeah, I mean, that's another part of it is that as soon as he's linked with us, his form goes through the roof. And so now they can ask for more money. And if he's in good form now at Atletico, does he really want to leave? Like, so I don't know. S says João Felix. 100%. I love João Felix. I think he's so good. Let's see. I'm so killing this name. Okay. Yanni Kisi says, I think because of the style Arsenal playing right now, Arsenal needs a poacher center forward. Well, our style is it also depends on the central midfielder that we bring in. Like, if the central midfielder can play in a way where we don't actually need our center forward to link as much, then we may be able to get away with somebody that doesn't league play as well. But I still think ultimately they need to be able to because if we end up becoming a team that other teams don't want to come out against and they play lower blocks against us, then they won't have the space in behind. So even though they should have the ability to run in behind, they need to also be able to operate in small space. And I don't think that like Darwin Nunez could do that, but Isak could. He could operate in small space. So it just depends. But I do think like the poacher center midfielder, we do need somebody that can just put simple chances away and run in front of the defender and make runs and just be active in the box. But equally, we need them to be able to link play at least a little bit. Okay, so John P saw it. Nunez is a big no for me after that Arsenal Vision video. I kind of feel exactly the same. Marsh says, why do you sleep on Ivan Toney? I don't like Ivan Toney's attitude. Like, I don't think, of course, once Eriksson got into the team, he looked a lot better. But at the same time, like, F Brentford, like that kind of stuff. It's like that's the kind of stuff you do like when you're trying to force a move. And I don't really feel like he's done much in the Premier League to feel like he should be forcing a move. And I'm not feeling his attitude, to be honest. Good player. That's all I can really say about it. If he came to Arsenal, I wouldn't be like devastated, but I'm not feeling that. Like he feels like somebody who's like, okay, I've made it to the Premier League. Now somebody bigger, come get me now. Not feeling that. Let's see. Tawanda says DCL is okay. I feel that. High Tech J says DCL for 25 will be great business in my opinion. I think DCL, whether he'll go somewhere, he'll either end up at Villa, West Ham, or Arsenal, because all three probably need another striker, and he's not going to go to anybody higher than that. I do feel like Arsenal are really interested in him though. O'Malley said, I take DCL at less than 40 million. John P said DCL would be a fine option. I mean, would you die? Like I guess that's my thing. So I want players that fit. And so as soon as they hit the pitch, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And if that was DCL, I wouldn't really care what he cost and what he looked like at Everton. I do like his physicality in the box and his athleticism. He can run in behind. He can be central. I don't really want a center forward who goes out wide to avoid getting kicked. We don't need other players wide. We have enough wide players as it is. We have our eights go wide to connect with the wingers. That's already what Xhaka and Odegaard are doing now. We don't actually need somebody clogging up that left half space or that right half space. We need somebody to occupy center backs centrally. So DCL can do that. And he can also get his head on a ball. So, I mean, it wouldn't kill me. Do I want something fancier? Of course, I got expensive taste, but as long as it fits, I'm not really Pepe has really kind of gotten me into a mind space where I'm a little bit afraid to spend the money on somebody and it not working out because you're kind of shackled to that for a while. So there you go. Kafusno says Osimhen can bring that beast mode in attack similar to Drogba. Now, Osimhen is somebody that I do think is the starish kind of player that Arsenal would look to bring in if they get Champions League. You need Champions League to bring in Osimhen. You can't have Europa League and do it. But I just he's another physical presence. He makes it very difficult for center backs. He knows how to buy fouls, but also just make it difficult. Good finisher. Can score with his head, with his feet, whatever, so he can go out wide, but he can operate central. So I do like Osimhen. I do. Let's see. Mikey says DCL would hold the bench more easily without kicking up a stink. That's the thing. Is so if Martinelli eventually moves central, or we play ESR central, or something changes and we need to do something else, DCL seems like somebody who would be a good culture person. Does that make sense? We still need to ensure that we have players in and around the squad that are not going to die if they don't play every game. And DCL I think it's good that he's English. He's still relatively young, 25 years old, Arsenal fan. He's somebody that I think if eventually we upgraded on him, he would play the second striker. He would play that rotational guy, and we wouldn't have to be trying to find a place for him to go because he's unusable. So yeah, I don't know. It just depends. John P says, Jess, do you think Gnabry could play through the middle at Arsenal? He has the strength and finishing ability. I don't know. It's hard for me to because I've seen him play central before for Germany, and I don't think it really worked. I know that they were trying things, but it didn't really feel like a natural thing for him. I wouldn't bring him in at 60 million or whatever Bayern is going to want for him and play him in a position that I'm not 100% sure that he can play. And that's what I'll say. But I would take Gnabry. obviously. George says, congratulations to Arsenal on getting Champions League and Yuri Tielemans next season. Well, Yuri Tielemans defensively was a lot better today than I've seen in recent seasons or recent games. I do feel like he doesn't look really comfortable defending, but he was giving that effort and his positioning was good in a lot of different times in that game. He had some good defensive interventions in this game. He wants Champions League, so if anybody wants him, they're going to have that. He's a decent player. He's more than decent. He's a good player. There you go. Let's see. S, from your comments, I can tell that you don't want DCL. Fair enough. Tony says DCL is a skill set we don't have. Exactly. So it's not for a personality S. It's for he does have things that we don't have in the team right now that we're actually complaining a lot about. Besides the scoring aspect of things, it's the height, the physicality, the ability to hold off center backs and really play in and amongst center backs, running behind and that kind of thing. He has things in his game that we need and we don't have. The scoring aspect of things is kind of like the best he looked, and when he got into the England national team was when he was playing with James Rodriguez. So if you look at the Everton team now, it's like nobody's even providing creativity or chances for their strikers. So it's a mystery to how they would score goals anyway. But if he does have an Odegaard feeding him, if he does have a Martinelli and a Saka feeding him, what could he be like? That's all I'm saying. So, yeah. And I don't think we need somebody who's prolific. I still don't believe we need somebody that has 20 goals in them. I think we need somebody that could get us to 10 to 15, but offer us a central presence and be somebody that we can work off of, almost like a backboard central forward. Somebody that can receive the ball and they can play off of him. Because I personally think Martinelli and Saka are the types of players that could get 15, 20 goals for us. So there you go. John P. Tielemans or Aouar. I'm not jumping for either, to be honest. I think they're both good players, but they lack the defensive nous that I feel like that position needs. But gun to my head. See, the other day I said Aouar. Gun to my head. Tielemans? I don't know. I'm flipping back and forth. I think also because not one of them stand out as the person, the player. The player is Jude Bellingham. I'm going to tell you that right now, but we're not going to be able to get him. That's just it. High Tech J says Saka, Martinelli, and ESR 100% score more goals with DCL as opposed to Lacazette. That's kind of what I think too. So yeah. Before we get out of here, you guys, what do you guys think the score prediction for tomorrow is going to be? Not tomorrow, for Monday. Do you guys think we're going to win the game? How do you think the game is going to go? Do you think that we will slip up? Do you think we will rise to the occasion? Do you sense any differences in the lineup? What do you think it's going to be like on Monday? I think it's going to be a very difficult game. I think Patrick Vieira is going to want blood. I think he's going to want revenge. I think he wanted that Arteta scalp at the beginning of the season, and he's going to go for it again. Zaha is a huge miss for them, but they still have some really good players. But the form that our team is in, I just feel a win. But if we're not on it, we could easily draw that game. I don't sense a loss. Happily Egg says tight 1-0. High Tech J says 1-0 to the Arsenal. We won't be ability to maintain offensive harmony due to not having Ramsdale in goal. Fair enough. I do think that not having Tomiyasu, like that, it didn't hurt us that much, but you could feel it. Not having Ramsdale, you can feel it as well. Sohan says, going to be tight, but I'll say 1-0. John P says 0-3 or 3 to us, 3-0. Cool. Nicholas says 2-1 to us. Tawanda says 1-0 to the Arsenal. Yeah. It's going to be a tight one. Blaze says 2-1 to Arsenal. Blake says 1-0 to Arsenal. John P says Laka is going to score this week. He better. Can't be scoring in behind closed doors friendlies, like, and not scoring like in real life. S says Palace fans are very hostile, and that will definitely play a big role if we can overcome it. Fair enough. Tony says if Palace are missing their players 3-0, Villa showed that they're good players, and a good system isn't enough versus this Arsenal. Yeah. I hope 3-0. I hope so. Kira says 1-0 to the Arsenal. Will says 3-1 to the Arsenal. Blake says, do you agree that it was unfortunate that Egypt didn't qualify for the World Cup 2022 because it wouldn't be a true World Cup without Mohamed El Neni? I do agree. Mohamed El Neni is a huge miss for the World Cup. I mean, he is the star player of Egypt. So him not being there is a huge miss. I was very disappointed not to see him in those starting 11s of players that are missing out on the World Cup. I don't know what they were thinking. Simon says, I've been chased by Palace fans. They are scary. Okay, so that's your experience. That sounds scary as hell. Tishi Go Fatso says 1-3, Smith Rowe, Saka, Lacazette will score. That would be amazing. Lucas says draw. Let's make top 4 or spot 4 more exciting. No, I don't want it to be exciting. Wayne Francis says 3-1 to the Arsenal. Lynn Simpson says, I think our back 4 will defend even harder to protect Leno. 1-0 Arsenal. I hope so. Happily Egg says Palace are more serious defense than Villa. Yeah, Villa is very unserious. Like, the thing about it is that there's been a false narrative around them the entire season, whether it was when Dean Smith was managing them or Steven Gerrard. The reality is that they spend a lot of money on players, but ultimately it's not clicking, and it hasn't clicked. They played some nice, pretty patterns. Really, it's been Coutinho that has made them look better than what they really are. But if you shut down Coutinho, you shut down everything that they're trying to do. And they're not very good defensively this season. I think some of that may have to do with fans in the stands. I do think teams that tend to go to away, like if you're usually a team that loses away from home, but there's no fans in the stands, it does give you a little bit more of that equality. And I think Villa really relished in that last season. And now that there's fans in the stands and everything is quite equal, they are like, now bigger teams have more of that advantage now with their home fans being there. They just haven't been very good. And the narrative around them is strange because they're not really a great team and they haven't been under either manager. If we're being 100% honest, Palace is better than Villa. They are. Like, I think. Let's see. I don't know. These weird text messages coming through to me. It's like they can't just do like the phone calls, like the spam calls. Like now they're doing like spam texts, and it's like honestly the most annoying thing I've ever seen. Yeah, Villa are actually above Crystal Palace by 2 points, but Crystal Palace have a game in hand. But if I had to say like who I thought was a better team, I think it's Crystal Palace. I think what hurt Crystal Palace early on in the season was all those draws where they were playing well, but they weren't getting the win. So I don't know. I think Palace defensively is going to give us a more difficult time, like you said, happily eggs. And we saw how they defended against Man City, even though Man City really should have put those chances away. Let's see. S says, if we start with ESR, I'm much more confident we'll create enough to put Palace away. Maybe. Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if I saw ESR. Let's keep it real. ESR is great, so either one of him or Martinelli. I just prefer Martinelli right now because I like what he gives us in that final third and defensively. Will says, easy win to the Arsenal. I hope so. Elliot Roberts says 1-0 to the Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners. I do not want one of those where for the last 20 minutes we're just on pins and needles. Like, I cannot do it. I need a 2-goal, like, buffer. Like, I really need it. John P says, under the lights at Palace will be hostile. Jeez. And Patrick is going to really be getting his team up. Like, it's going to be a really hard game. But like Wolves, both times, like Villa, I do think that we'll be fine as long as we play our game. Let's see. Anthony Williams says 3-1 to Arsenal. We're going to finish this football weekend right. I hope so. Happily X says Vieira has them set up well. Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do because they will press us. They'll probably try to press us early. So hopefully we don't get caught off guard by that. But if we end up having to send it long, what do we do? Instead of, as with Ramsdale, when we send it long, we can send it straight to Saka and Martinelli and we can make something happen from there, or send it forward and get second balls. I don't know if it'll be the same because Leno tends, when he just kicks it, sometimes it looks he's just kicking it. Like, that's what it looks like to me. So it'll be interesting to see if they shut down our ability to play out of the back and kind of build up that way. Because when we played against Villa, they gave us a very easy possession at the halfway line. I thought that they were very passive. If Crystal Palace are not passive and they press us, what are we going to do? And I think we're fine because let's keep it real. Liverpool were pressing us and we solved pressure very well. It's just a matter of like, what do we do when we get into the final third when we do release? Can we make sure that we finish our chances when they come and not make silly mistakes in the back? Leno cannot get shook because they're going to press us. Like, he just can't. And if he does hoof it long, what are we going to do to get possession back? Thomas Partey and Xhaka are going to have to win second balls, and Saka and Martinelli are going to have to be up there really like putting pressure on the fullbacks. Lacazette, I don't know what he's going to do. I really don't. I really can't. Let's see. Captain Joka says Martinelli is getting 2 goals. I think he's due a goal. Like, he hasn't had one since Watford, but was that even like a long time ago? I don't know. Like, it feels like a long time ago. He's due a goal, I think. DMC says I would start ESR as well. Fair enough. Yeah. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. High Tech J says Liverpool pressed us with Ramsdale in the goal. That's a massive difference to pressing us with Leno in goal. Yeah, no, I get that. But I think we will adjust knowing that Leno is back there. Like, when we played against Aston Villa, like, Leno really wasn't back there pissing around with the ball. I think we'll make contingencies for that. We'll know what to do, and we won't be just like passing it around. Like, what we don't do a lot anymore is like that, where both center backs just go wide of Leno and we just start passing like these little weird passes. We don't do that as much. So I think we'll be smart enough not to do that. My issue is when we kick it forward, what are we going to do? That's my problem. If we kick it forward, how are we going to make sure that we get possession? Because Conor Gallagher is one of those types of players where he can pretty much run a midfield by himself, and he will win all second balls. I know for sure Thomas Partey is not going to have time on the ball. Xhaka is not going to have time on the ball. So it's going to be it's going to be a different atmosphere, but we can deal with pressure, you guys. We have done it before. Again, we are one of the least dispossessed teams when we're being pressed. So we can do it. It's just a matter of getting it out of Leno's feet. Let's see. Don 1 says, I have a feeling Laka is going to score. I hope so. John P says he'll be buzzing after getting on the pitch for Brazil. I think you're talking about Martinelli. For More Sport says Crystal Palace under Vieira is a very difficult team to beat. Selhurst Park is hard ground to get points. Zaha will run the left ragged. Zaha's not going to be playing though because he's injured. No, I hear all this, you guys. Like, I really do. Like, I get that Crystal Palace is going to be a difficult team. They're going to be up for it. They're going to be physical, but I do think we're going to be up to the task. Like, I don't think we're sitting there thinking it's going to be an easy day out. Like, we seem pretty prepared for almost every single game. I haven't seen us look super unprepared for a game. Like, we didn't know what the game plan was going to be. It's just whether or not we can execute it. We're going to get chances. They'll probably get chances, but we'll get chances probably more than them. I don't think they'll sit. I mean, I don't know if they'll sit back, but they are going to press us. And when they do, can we break their lines and put them in disadvantage, like at a disadvantage, going back towards their goal? I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. I remember Thomas Partey and Lakanga struggled in this game. I don't think they'll struggle this time because it won't be Lakanga. It'll be Xhaka and Thomas Partey. So yeah. Happily Egg says, here's a question. Is Leno playing a confidence building exercise? Will Leno gradually become first choice? No, he will not. He'll be gone. Like he's going to be gone at the end of the season. He didn't make the last Germany squad. So his opportunities to get into the World Cup squad are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And Ramsdale has revolutionized the way that we play because everything starts from the back. And so I don't think Leno has an opportunity to come back into the side. I don't think he wants to. I think if it was up to him and he would have gotten a good offer, he would have left already. So Ramsdale is definitely our number one. We've already bought our number two in Matt Turner. So he's off. The thing about Leno that's good is that because he needs to make sure that he gets into that World Cup squad, he'll work hard. I think that's a reason why he played so good against Aston Villa is because the squad had just come out. For More Sports says, that news actually makes me feel better. Only Gallagher to worry about then, really. Olise is also a worry. But where they have Olise and Gallagher, we have Thomas Partey, we have Odegaard, we have Saka, Martinelli. Like, we have more weapons than they do. So they will need to worry about us as well. And these were players that weren't really playing like they are now back then. Back then it was still Aubameyang. Lacazette came off the bench. So I don't know I think Aubameyang may have started through the center. We were a much different team than Lakanga started. We're settled now. Ben White is settled now. Gabrielle is settled now. We'll be fine. And the thing is when you watch them play against lower level opposition, they obviously look really good. But when they play against better teams, you can see that there's definitely a gap there. With Man City, it was really one of those games where Man City probably should have put the game away early. But as the game went on, Crystal Palace defended deeper and deeper. And it just became one of those typical City games where they lose. And they only lose those like once or twice a season. And it was still a draw, I think. So let's not get carried away. They're a good team, but we're better. That's what I'll say. Olise is a big doubt. Yeah, that's what I was saying. He may not play. S says, I rate Olise so highly. I think we should have got him before we went to Palace. Yeah, I think so too. I think he's great. Like he would be the thing is we are going to need other players to support Saka and the left-hand side as like the wing forwards. Like we're going to need more players. I don't think Olise would leave Palace to sit on our bench, but we are going to need another player. And I would love for it to be Olise. I just think now like the time is kind of gone because they'll want a lot of money. And why would he come and sit on our bench? Like, you know what I mean? So let's see. For More Sports says, my worry is choking. We have an opportunity to get closer to Chelsea and pull away from United and Spurs. In the past, the Monday night game is a bogey. Yeah, it has been. But as of lately, we have seen this team, when the opportunity has come, take advantage of it. Hopefully that will continue. Don One says, question, there's big talk about Matt Turner is the States. Is he any good, Jess? Yeah. I mean, he's the number one. For me, him and Zach Steffen have been sharing it, but Matt Turner really is the number one for the U.S. men. He's a good goalkeeper. He's going to be a good number two, and he's a good culture guy. Like, he's one of those types that's like, he's going to push Ramsdale. He's already said it. He's going to push Ramsdale, but he's going to be somebody that's just good to have around. Like, you know what I mean? You have to have somebody that knows that their spot is the number two. They will push you, but they'll be ready to come out there and play when they have to. Matt Turner is a really good goalkeeper. That's one thing that the U.S. does very well. We know how to make goalkeepers. That's for sure. I was watching Rafinha today, and I thought he would be a good option to replace Pepe for Saka, like to put him on the same side as Saka because he's left-footed as well, but he plays similarly to Saka in some ways, like the way he drives at defenders. He has some range to his game. He can create and score goals. Rafinha is somebody that I would like to see at Arsenal. I don't know if he'd come, but Rafinha as the replacement for Pepe sounds very tasty to me. And I do think we need to be looking for good players, like not just any old player that can play right wing. No, there's no point in that. If we're in Champions League, they need to be just as good as the players that are there, if not better. But yeah. So, S, what is this? Really? You're not convinced by Ramsdale? Wow. All right. So let's go ahead and get out of here. My score prediction is 2-0 to the Arsenal. I think we'll keep a clean sheet. I think we're going to play well, and I think we're going to win it. One of those where we score like right after halftime, both goals. I think we'll struggle in the first half a little bit, but I do think we're going to win the game. Yeah. So that's what I think. Hoping for a Spurs loss tomorrow. Who do they play? You guys know? Newcastle. And Newcastle is not an easy game anymore. I need them to be a very difficult game tomorrow. But I really enjoyed talking to you guys. After the game, we'll do player ratings as we usually do. And yeah, can't wait to see you guys. Hopefully we're talking about a win. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.